Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the number one podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood flooring, and sawmill industry. I'm your host, Steve from Acres of Timber. Each week, we feature various wood business owners and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We share their stories, paths, insights so that you can network, learn, and grow your own wood business. Thank you so much for listening. Now enjoy the episode. Hey, welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast. As your host, Steve. Today's guest is Alyssa Timmer from AT Timberworks. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm well. Why don't you tell everybody about AT Timberworks? What do you guys do?
So AT Timberworks started when I needed some furniture for my house. That's the age-old, origin story. And so it kind of spiraled into doing custom furniture for other people, mostly in the Cleveland area, but willing to do wherever. And so started doing like a lot of charcuterie boards and smaller stuff. But then I really got into bigger desks and tables and things like that. And that's really where my passion is. So we do a lot of countertops, bar tops, desks and tables, things like that.
Awesome. And just tell us a little bit about how'd you get your experience and how'd you get, like, what year did you start? Just tell us the origin story.
Yeah, so I started woodworking in 2020.
Okay.
Not because of the pandemic, it just kind of fell that way. And I had, that starter Ryobi set of tools, started using that to make things. The first thing I ever made was a standing desk for my own office because I work remote. I still do. Yeah. And so then I decided I wanted to take on the challenge of making a desk for someone else. And really everything from there has been self-taught. I mean...
Hey, Steve Larzaliere here. Sorry to interrupt this great episode of the Woodpreneur podcast, but I want to let you know that we are just releasing our latest training. And over this training, I go over how I helped generate $200,000 and 300 leads for clients. And during this 45-minute training, we will go over the frameworks, the strategies, and the concepts that you need to scale from 6 figures to 7 figures, or even just get started. These are the building blocks that I've seen help wood, lumber, furniture, millwork companies grow and scale. So I've been hearing it lots of times, like, I just need a training, I need a training. So we finally put it together. So wherever you're consuming this, just click the link in the description and you'll be able to access it.
Tons of trial
YouTube
and error,
TV,
tons of
YouTube University.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. YouTube University. I'm a graduate of. We're still really a young Padawan.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I've been, every project I do, I try to push myself to try something new and enhance my skills. But it is always nice to kind of fall back on the things I'm used to. And now it's funny to look back and see the things that I made initially, because I think they're terrible, but I think that's natural.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you started in 2020. When did you start making money?
I started woodworking in 2020, and then I started AT Timberworks actually almost exactly 2 years ago. It was August of 2021. But I didn't start actually, thank you, didn't actually start making money that was profit until this year.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What's been the bread and butter?
Oh gosh, honestly, I hate to say it, but charcuterie boards, it always keeps my cash flow going. Yeah. But then I've had a lot of bigger projects that helped, and I was pricing them better because at first I was terrible at that. I'm still learning. But I think that if I need a fallback, I always have people asking for small one-off projects.
How do you get the word out? Like, how do people find it? Like, how do you get your customers?
Honestly, most of it has been word of mouth.
Locally?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, my family and friends are all in Cleveland, Akron, all over Ohio. So it's a lot of connections. I went to undergrad in Cleveland, grad school in Columbus. So I just have a lot of people that I've met throughout the years that have been so supportive, because as soon as I started posting,
Yeah.
Both Instagram and then Facebook for my little older generation. They're, texting me and calling me, can you make this? Can you do that? So that's been the main source of marketing, really.
What what's been the most challenging part in doing what you do, your business?
Trying to do everything I want to do in conjunction with my full-time job.
What is your full-time job? What do you do?
I'm a CPA, and I am an accounts payable manager at the moment. I've had different jobs through the years, but that's what I'm doing now.
But finance, accounting,
Yeah.
that's your back. You said
Yeah.
so you have like a master's in accounting?
I do. Yes. And
That's a CPA. Yeah.
yeah, well, to even sit for the CPA exam, you have to have 150 credits, at least in Ohio. So
Yeah.
undergrad is typically like between 120, 130. And I figured, well, if I'm going to need, 20 to 30 more credits, I might as well get another degree. So
Yeah. Do you love what you do as a day job?
that's a complicated question. Overall,
Maybe I shouldn't
yes.
ask that on a podcast.
That's okay. You know what's funny? People in my day job, there's one person that knows that I do woodworking on the side. Other
And that
people
you've
don't know
amassed a
that.
following of almost 60,000.
I
You
know
have this
it's
other
just
life.
one day until someone stumbles upon a reel or something and they recognize me.
You got to blend those two.
I know. Here's my initial worry was I don't want people to think it's affecting my work,
That's so true.
but
Yeah.
I'm also so dedicated to my work. I'm
Yeah.
always at home. Of course I want to be out in the garage, but I will never like cross the two because I don't want
Yeah.
to feel like I'm not doing my work, which is silly, but
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that where do you want to take your life
Yeah.
career?
that's the question of the century, really. I don't know. I'm so early on in my career and I've progressed so quickly.
Yeah.
That sounds like very humble brag, but it is the truth. I've just like had great roles and great experience, and I'm super dedicated to everything I'm doing. If it's work, that's what I'm doing. And if it's AT Works, like I'm super dedicated. But at first I started in public accounting, which is what a lot of CPAs do to get experience. And I knew, well, I don't want to be an auditor for the rest of my life. But now
Yeah.
working in like a corporate accounting role, I really like. There's a clear path to some sort of like CFO job eventually. I mean, that's like 20 years down the line, but it could be the move for me. But then I have woodworking. I don't know. I'm taking it day by day.
Woodworking probably gives you a really great outlet from being outside from a desk, right?
Yeah, because I really am so sedentary. I've got a walking pad and I do what I can,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it is a 180 from what I do during the day.
Yeah, for sure. What are you looking forward to building most? Where do you want to take your business, the AT Works?
I really want to challenge my skills around joinery and hand tools, which is kind of funny because it's like going backwards because I started with all power tools, but I've been getting really into it over the last 6 to 9 months. And every time I do a new project, I try a new joinery technique and it never looks good, but at least I tried it.
Yeah.
Overall, I want to do bigger, as much as a cutting board or a charcuterie board is fun, I really don't want to do that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do one of a kind, like furniture pieces for either a home or business. I've done a couple business pieces.
Yeah. You know what I really love? I love the immediacy of charcuterie board money, right? It's a little addicting because you can almost create, and if you have the right brand and people like you, it's so easy to just sell smaller products. But it's hard to move the needle in terms of like growth because it's kind of formulaic. Almost meditation like, right? You're like, I'm going to go and build these.
Yeah, the nice thing is no two charcuterie boards that I make are the same. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a similar process, but it is fun to switch it up, play with colors and that sort of thing. My younger sister is a real estate agent in Cleveland. So every time she sells a house, I make her a closing gift. And
Amazing.
it's like constant income really from my own sister. But it helps with marketing too.
Absolutely.
I don't charge her as much as I charge most people.
What's this SB Partner of National Forest? What's that?
Oh, small business. I ran out of characters.
Okay.
In my bio, there's just like not very many spaces. I used to have it in there. So the National Forest Foundation, obviously you probably have heard of it, but they have, I think it's 3 tiers of partnerships. Biggest one is like a corporation, but mine, so they just renamed the program. It's called the Sapling Program, and it's for small businesses. So what you do is there is like a one-time fee, but you get all these different like resources and information. And then every dollar you donate plants 1 tree in a national forest.
Sick.
So it's super cool. And I've really tried to incorporate that into my brand and like who I am, because I love trees and I love being outside. And so I have this card. Every time I deliver an order or ship an order, it says like how many trees like your order donated. So it's kind of a cool way to get the customer involved. And, you know, I track how many I've donated to date, which is motivating.
How much?
Oh, I knew as soon as I said that you were going to ask.
Because I'm thinking about doing this for my business too. So.
Oh my gosh. That would be so great. I think I've just crossed 600.
Sick. That's amazing.
So, yeah, I've had it on my list all summer, but I really want to make like a tracker to hang on my French cleat wall. I've seen them with, subscriber count. You know, you've got a goal. So I want to do the same thing for like how many trees I've donated.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think it's something real tangible, right? It's like you support, you plant a tree, right?
Exactly.
What's been the most challenging part of running a business?
Oh man. Other than just having as much time as I want to, trying to keep up with everything that goes into running a business as one person. I mean, even just, it took me months to even build my own website because it's just me. And, you know, then there's business cards, and then there's the cards that I was talking about. All the marketing side of stuff that I'm not that great at, that stuff has been challenging because I'm not super motivated. I'm not like excited to design a website.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody is really.
It was so much work. I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah. And I see that you're like, you play around with a lot of content, like content creation type stuff.
Yeah, I do. I really got into it last year. I mean, I did actually recently just take like a month off. Just because
From posting content?
Yeah. I started recording more long form content, and so I stopped doing reels in the meantime because I was trying to catch up, and then just like personal life stuff. So I really do want to get back into it. I love reels and pictures and everything. I know it's a lot of work, but I enjoy it, and I learn a lot from other people.
Yeah. And you seem like a pretty community-minded person. Do you have like people that you network with and build and support each other?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've made so many friends on Instagram alone, which is just so weird because they're strangers on the internet. But we have a Northeast Ohio woodworkers group. And we get together. Well, we try to get together. It is very difficult with schedules, but we schedule meetups and, you know, bounce ideas off each other. That's been really cool to see because it's the same market of people that we're all marketing to, really. But most of us have our own like niche. Like we're doing different things for the most part.
Yeah. I think that's the most awesome thing about businesses is there's the way that I look at it is like there's more than enough, like nature's abundant.
Yeah.
There's more than enough opportunities. There's more than enough jobs. You can't possibly make the same amount of tables as everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To serve the amount of need that's out there. So.
And I never hesitate if I can't or won't make something to just refer someone else. I mean, I truly believe that there is enough for everyone.
Absolutely. in your business, is there like an ebb and flow into like what is the sort of busy time for you and what is
You
slow?
know, Christmas always becomes busy, but that's on the charcuterie side, which
Mm-hmm.
I last year I had learned from the prior year not to set a limit. So I set a limit last year, and like at this date or this amount of orders, I'm going to cut myself off. So that really helped. But for general projects, I don't really notice an ebb and flow. One thing that I started doing, I think it was like February, March of this year, I started really being honest with myself on how long is this going to take. This dining room table will take me at least, let's say, 5 weeks because
Yeah.
I'm one person and I have a job. But and I don't like to rush things because then that's how I mess up. So what I started doing was putting that out on my calendar. And if I got an inquiry, I would say, I won't be able to start your project until July, or for example. And
Yeah.
that has really helped keep my workflow not so overwhelming, where in the beginning, I was taking orders and then I wouldn't deliver for like 6 months. Well, now I'm setting the expectation I won't even think about your project
Yeah.
for 4 months, and then it'll
Yeah.
take me, another 2 months or so.
Are you collecting deposits or no?
Yes, I started to, and it has been such a big difference, especially with the cost of materials up front. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It has made a
Yeah.
huge difference.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot. I've seen it both ways where people are like they put people on backlog, but don't accept the deposit, and then I think what that does too is like set the client up to feel like, is this gonna really happen or
Yeah.
not? And then you're not necessarily thinking about it. But if you accept the money, then you got to do it. You know?
Right.
So,
Right now I'm on the hook. Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you. I want them to feel like we're both invested, and it protects my time so that I'm like my time is booked out and that nothing falls through. I mean, it could still fall through even if they give a deposit, but the chances are a lot lower. So it's making sure that I'm scheduled and getting like a proper flow of cash.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. So this is a part of the podcast where I give you any marketing or business advice. Is there um, anything marketing or business related that I could help you with?
So I think one of the biggest things, and I'm sure you hear this a lot, but is just balancing and how to market myself, even though this isn't my full-time job, and the fact that I'm not fully, like, professionally trained in woodworking.
Yeah, yeah. So the question is, how do you balance it all despite the fact that it's not your full time and you're not a professional?
Right. Building that trust, even though I don't technically have any credentials.
Well, I mean, maybe some of the old timers that are listening here will hate me, but at some point everybody was a beginner.
Yeah.
And everybody, and so like you have to start someplace. And so I would not I think you saying that you're not a professional is a limiting belief and is something that is maybe holding you back from like accepting bigger jobs, putting yourself out there even more so, because you see all these people with the tools and the shop and they got this and they got that. And so like I would just like be present with where you're at, know where you want to go. But I think in terms of marketing, I think your marketing, you can dive in more into like a learning environment, like a learning, like, hey, well, before I go into that, I think you actually need to lean into the fact that you're a CPA and that you're an
Really?
accountant. I think so. I think it's part
I
of your
thought you were going to
story.
say something else.
No, I think you need to
Oh,
lean
that's
into
funny.
it. I think you're holding yourself back. So like, I'll give you a little example. When I started doing this business, right? Like podcasting and like helping wood business owners grow and scale, nobody knew that I had 18 years experience growing and scaling multiple businesses. My last business was a nonprofit that I scaled to 3 cities, raised like in my career tens of millions of dollars. Like nobody knew, but like that lends itself to adding dimension to you and who you are. And so the fact that you are a professional, like you're a professional, like you have an advanced degree, you actually have an extra certification. I think you can lean into that even more. So like, what's the guy's name? Blacktail Studio, right?
Oh yeah.
Blacktail Studio was like, wasn't he like a pilot, like an emergency, whatever? Like, but you knew what he did.
True. Yeah, because he was still doing that when he started his channel.
Exactly.
And ended up quitting. Yeah.
Like he was on this podcast like years ago when he was doing that. And so for you, I think you're holding yourself back and it feels like you're living in 2 different worlds and it's not allowing you to fully show up as yourself. So that's something that I would explore. So it's like, hey, by day I crunch numbers. At night I sand, I sand and build beautiful furniture. Like,
yeah.
And the other thing, honestly, is all of your coworkers, your boss, your clients, they could all be your customers.
That's great advice. I had never considered that before.
They can all be, they all got money though. That's the thing. They all have money.
Yeah.
All of your coworkers and your colleagues and the executives, they all work all day and they go home, they watch Netflix, they don't do anything. Maybe they hang out with their kids, they have dinner, they take them to soccer games, whatever on the weekends. But they have nothing else going on.
Yeah.
This isn't a blanket statement, by the way. This is a total generalization. And so I look at you and they could look at you and like, oh my God, look at Alyssa. Look at what she's learning. Look at what she's doing. And you can actually garner more support and build an audience of potential customers. Because let's just say, you could even look at like hashtag accountant, hashtag CPA, hashtag all of those things and connect with other people just like you. You could build an audience of people just like you that are buying your tables and buying your charcuterie boards because of who you are. And so I think that is, so like obviously always stay committed to your day job. However, lean into the fact that like, that you are, this is what you do during the day, but like you also have this amazing passion. You built a 60,000 person Instagram account. You're like investing in yourself, going to places like Workbench Con. Like you're doing things. That's really cool. And that's something to be proud of and that you should tell more people about.
Oh man, that is really good advice, because up to this point, I think that the people at work see me one way and like people in my life see me another. People in my life don't see me as a professional, which is funny because at work I'm like so professional and leading a team of 12 people. But it would be really cool to see me as multifaceted in that way. They would see, oh, Alyssa, our supervisor, she does this to better herself and pursue something in her spare time.
I mean, look, it's also mental health, right? Like you're sitting there, you're sanding, you're listening to podcasts, you're figuring things out in your head, you're like doing the math. It's a lot of the same skills, just applied in a different way. And honestly, I mean, for anybody that's like listening, I hear this all the time. I hear this all the time. I just interviewed a guy the other day and he was like, don't say my full name. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. Everybody's like afraid of stuff. And I'm like, they're afraid to show who they truly are, when the most successful people, you can go from one room to the next and you are the same person. You should never change.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know, it's totally interesting. Like I've been around a lot of successful people, and like whether you're talking to like a 12-year-old kid or a billionaire, they're literally the same. I've strived for myself in my own life and career. Who you see right now is the same person I'm with my kid, same person I am with my clients, same, because it's hard to be two different people. You feel like you're holding yourself back. And then what ends up happening is that remember the first thing that I said was, I think you're holding yourself back by having these limiting beliefs. And so I would add to that, you're holding yourself back by not sharing who you truly are with everyone in your life. Is that helpful?
It's extremely helpful. I'm just thinking of all the ways, because we have like an internal, it's almost like Twitter, but it's a corporate version. And there's a woodworkers group, and I posted in there one time. It was like maybe 15 members. It's very small, but people, I think I'm the only woman in the group, so it was kind of funny, but they were like shocked. And so it's not people I work with on a day-to-day basis, but at that point I was like, oh, this could be kind of interesting to
here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. I think there's, in corporate America, there's this belief that like, oh, people can't do it all. Like, hell yeah, you can do it. Yeah, like you can maintain a passion and a hobby. Like the executives are playing golf all the time, like all the time, and you're gonna say, oh, you're not doing work because you're playing golf. It's, you know what I mean? And so I look at someone like you, and you're a supervisor. How badass would it be to gain like, you'll even have more respect for people, and then you'll encourage them to pursue their passions on the side too. That's literally what the phone is. The phone and social media is a platform to inspire people. And the more you can show up as yourself, literally you will be printing money. You're going to have a backlog of a year.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And then you know what happens when you can have a backlog of a year? You can raise your prices.
Oh.
Yeah. You can. Yeah.
I don't have to supervise.
Yeah.
I think my mom would kill me after all that schooling, but
oh,
no, she would understand.
That's another podcast for living up to expectations of families.
No,
no, it's the same with me. Don't worry.
It's just funny because it's like you find these things later in life, like for us, woodworking, and it's just, I never expected it. It just comes out of nowhere, but
I mean,
then
look,
it kind of all clicks.
I gave up. I left a really successful career to build a company to help grow and scale wood businesses, because I was so passionate about helping people who build stuff. And ultimately, I believe that if you love what you do, you deserve to get paid really well for it. And if you are doing stuff from the bottom of your heart and passionate and with your hands, oh, that's like the combination of. And I even myself, like I had a little charcuterie board side hustle. I called it Purpose Wood Co. I would have different, it was like small batch collections of charcuterie. I donated a portion to charity like you, and I would sell out before I even made it, because people were all my friends, you know, I have friends in New York, LA, Chicago. They're like, oh my God, Steve, you're this crazy, you're this professional who does this. I want to support. Literally, that's the mindset. That was everybody. Everybody was like, oh my God, my friend Steve, he's this executive, and he does, and he makes charcuterie boards, and they're like showing me pictures years later of my charcuterie boards. You know what I mean? You're sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, I do love that, and I'll
next year we'll have another podcast about how you implemented the advice that I gave you, and how you built a six-figure wood business on the side.
Yeah. It's been helpful having, though, an accounting background when I do business things, because I'm like, wow, this is easy for me. I know what that means. And then I talk to other people that don't.
We should collaborate. Accounting for woodworkers. Maybe
I know. I thought about that.
What? Let's talk about that. Totally. This is a new collaboration live. What we should do? We should figure out a free, like a chart of accounts. I think that's a big thing. If we could figure out a chart of accounts for woodworking businesses that they can add to their thing, add to their QuickBooks files. That would probably be the first thing. Cool. Anyway, what's your website? What's your Instagram so folks can follow you?
My Instagram is at_timberworks, and my website is attimberworks.com.
Alyssa, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to getting your story out, and it was fun to talk to you.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, I'll talk to you later.